night to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news tonight. Our major stories this evening in the Southwest region, and the Manu division in particular is in tears. The region and the division is mourning the passing away of former Senate Vice President Ufo Tabetandu, who died in the nation's fiscal capital, Yaoundé. That was yesterday. Our reporters were at his residence in Yaoundé, and we'll be telling you the atmosphere which reigns there in this news edition. Plus, fake pharmaceutical products worth over 80 million francs CFA have been seized from some merchants that was at the Manowo Bay in Limbe in the Southwest region. Those are our lead stories. Details and more when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your usual confidence. We told you in the headlines that illegal pharmaceutical products worth some 80 million francs CFA have been destroyed by the Rapid Intervention Battalion, the B, at the Manowo Bay in Limbe in the Southwest region. The drugs which were seized during the sea patrol by the B on the high seas in Idinal West Coast Subdivision, Fako Division. Smarty Kangiber has more.
A variety of pharmaceutical products, amongst them Calcimax, amlodipine 10 grams tablet, Renferon 12, fortified procaine penicillin injection for Mega, misoprostol, Primaval QS, and a host of others were some of the drugs that were seized by the B patrol team on the high sea in Idinau, West Coast Subdivision, Fako Division. Before the destruction of the drugs, a closed session that took place, Dr. Mrs. Kinge, who represented the district medical officer of Limbe, said the consignment of drugs that were seized came very timely, as the consumers have been the most affected population. The drugs, which was seized during the Rapid Intervention Battalion regular maritime control on the high sea, was a success thanks to the collaboration from the population.
The final step of a great operation conducted by many actors, and today what we are going to do is just to thank them for their collaboration, for their commitment, and we hope that such collaboration will continue. Your population, your nation needs good economy and a healthy population. So it's good for us to fight against such traffics and activity.
The drugs worth 80 million francs CFA, considered dangerous for consumption, were later destroyed at a site in the Manowo Bay in the presence of the representative from top government officials.
From the Fako, we move on to the Mourning division after years of insecurity which left Nguti farms deserted and drastically reduced the community's agricultural output. The new farming season is bringing a renewed sense of hope. Farmers who had abandoned their fields for fear of violence are now returning, and women are taking a leading role by planting improved cassava and maize seedlings. Rex Afon was in Nguti. He now tells us more.
It is another farming season in Nguti. The once deserted farms, due to the security challenges, are once more seeing the return of farmers. This time around, women will be farming with improved cassava and maize seedlings.
We realized that through the Vihol Foundation that these women were facing issues of the overall goal, food security. Within the crisis, there have been a lot of issues. Their farms were destroyed and everything. They abandoned all their livelihood. So they are now coming back and they need the seedlings to plant.
Coming back to them is an assurance that there's still life. Because where there is life, there's hope. So giving them these seedlings will improve on their livelihood and even their economic empowerment, because they are going to sustain their families.
At the heat of the crisis, Nguti's production capacity for farm produce dropped drastically. This year, it is hoped that there will be a difference.
I know how vibrant Nguti used to be and how much harvest used to come out of Nguti every year. Corn, cassava, yams, cocoyams. With the crisis and a lot of people left Nguti, it meant that they lost their seedlings continuity, because traditionally every year when they harvest, they would dry some seeds and prepare them for next planting.
The women who have acquired these seedlings are confident that they will supply the food market with quality products.
They have already organized themselves and they are telling me that they want to start their own little farm, where what I have given them this year is not for consumption, it's for more seeds.
During this crisis, people ran and we had no cassava scheme. So now, as people have bought this one, we are very grateful, we are very happy. It will help us to go in a long way. As farmers, we in Nguti, we used to have many of these like cassava, places to sell. We don't have market, we don't have machines to process the cassava. So most of these things used to disturb us.
Just like Nguti, most communities around this area, many farming areas have suffered significantly, as many farms were transformed into battlegrounds between armed groups and men in uniform.
And now, after the Holy Father Pope Leo XIV left from Cameroon, local politics should be discussed or be brought back to the table. Professor Abaoyono on his passing, the issue of vice president should be a topic of debate. It's from me, Amson Standard tells us in the report which comes up next.
The Pope's visit to Cameroon had almost overshadowed the political news of the moment. The constitutional amendment creating the post of Vice President of the Republic, a law adopted in Congress by the Senate and the National Assembly on April the 4th. With Pope Leo XIV back in Rome, academic Jean-Calvin Abaoyono has brought the issue back to the forefront in an essay titled Thinking Through Cameroon's Legal Summit Beyond the Scheming Abyss of Maine. In this scholarly work summarized in 5 points, the law professor critiques the new mechanism for the transfer of power now enshrined in the fundamental law of the nation. Jean-Calvin Abaoyono objects to a prospective handover of power from the head of state Paul Biya to his son Frank Emmanuel Biya, denouncing the safeguard that the future vice president's appointment by the man of the New Deal would represent. The author bases his argument on 2 examples that foreshadows this scenario of continuity. 1. Another Biya after Biya. He cites Georges Baunla, a guest on the program Libre Expression on Info TV, who declared the post of vice president cannot go to a neighbor's son, it must go to the presidential family. End of quote. In this same vein, he highlighted the case of a creation of Paul Biya on a TV set of Actualité Hebdo on national television. In March 2025, Jacques Famendongo said Paul Biya's succession is a part of a biological logic, if not a political one. Faced with these prospective private handovers, the legal scholar sees a grave threat to the foundation of the Republic and decries the complicit silence of intellectuals and academics who quietly allow such an offense, one that transposed Cameroon's constitution to pass. Jean-Calvin Abaoyono thus describes this worrying situation as containing the seed of an attack on the constitutional law, a crisis of constitutional law rendered powerless in the face of the retention of sovereignty, all within a confiscation of power, the author concludes in his 15-page document.
And still on the Pope's visits to Cameroon, some Catholic priests think now is the time for introspection and self-awareness. Reverend Father Christopher Gekum on his part says the transformation of the country should begin soonest from every stratum of the society. Let's listen to him in this excerpt.
But the message of the Pope is just clear that we begin now. We should build our country and that we should share and let go war, discrimination, disunity, fighting, and look at what is commonly profitable for Cameroon. Beginning with myself, it means that each human being that heard the Pope, because the whole world is commenting on that, it is so important for us each Cameroonian also to convert. It's a call for conversion and start loving your enemy. The book of Matthew chapter 5 from verse 9, it says, happy are the peacemakers. They will be called children of God. Even if you are not a Catholic, if you are not a Christian, whether a Muslim or all that, because Monsignor Andrew Keya said, peace is not only Muslim, peace is not only Catholic, peace is not only Protestant, peace is for everybody. And that statement is so powerful. And I want to say that we should be fighting for peace. Where the truth is said, that is where true Cameroon can be constructed. And I want to advise, even everybody to listen to the advice of the prelates of the church. Those gods are given moral force to advise, because when you have wise people in your kingdom as a leader, and you don't listen to them, you don't use them up, to advise you on how to build your nation and your power, you will fail. Because those who do not listen to each other can never survive. So I want to say that the Pope has come and gone. It is left for us to impact our country with a change. Let us say that those who are fighting can now sit on one table to dine, to celebrate. Those who could not, speak together, they are now talking, because politics is not enmity. And to speak the truth does not mean that the person who is in darkness you are correcting should become your enemy.
In other news, we told you in the headlines that the nation is mourning the passing away of Sanis Vice President for Tabetandu, a towering figure in the country's political, traditional, and legal landscape. Senator for Tabetandu Diep So is no more. The second Vice President of the Senate passed away. That was yesterday in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. And our reporter Immaculate Fogwe reports on the atmosphere at his residence in Yaoundé, while equally giving us details on his biography.
The residence of Senator for Ntabitando Diep So in Yaoundé, a sober atmosphere prevails as friends, family members, colleagues and well-wishers gathered to console his wife and children over the loss of the senator. Meanwhile, a vacant throne now stands in Bachwon Tai village in Mangu Division, Southwest region, where he was paramount ruler.
Well, I am Royal Highness Chief Ari Augustine, the paramount chief of Binjo in Mangu Division, Southwest province. The death has been it's a big blow. We look at him as the Iroko and the Baobab of the family of Mangu Southwest and of a nation. But when we look at it at the end of death, we merely say that human beings are lined up in a roll call, and one after the other. You don't know when your time comes, but it's God that chooses your own time.
Senator for Tabitando Diep So, a prominent Cameroonian politician, was born on October 29, 1950 in Bachwon Tai village in the Mangu Division, Southwest region. He pursued legal studies, obtaining a Master of Laws in London before returning to Cameroon to establish his law firm in Douala in 1975, focusing on corporate law with international firms as clients. On January 20, 1990, he was enthroned as traditional ruler with the title 4 of Bachwon Tai in Mamfi Central Subdivision. He later diversified his portfolio, and in 1996 he created Euro Oil Limited, an oil and gas exploration and exploitation company in Douala with Canadian and British partners. He served as chairman of Euro Oil Limited. He later joined the Cameroon National Union (CNU), later transitioning to the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement (CPDM). In 2013, he became a senator representing the Southwest region. He served as chairman of the CPDM Senate Group before rising to the position of vice president of the upper house. He also served as president of the Southwest Chiefs Conference (SWEC) and as vice president of the National Forum of Chiefs, Funds and Lamidos, reinforcing his standing as a bridge between modern governance and traditional authority. During the 2016-2017 Anglophone crisis, he spoke out, advocating for federalism and dialogue. He even went to the extent of going on his knees to plead on sons of Mangu who were in the bushes to lay down their arms.
May I take the message for all the children, when they live for bush, make them come back home.
A true polymath, for Tabitandon Dip's legacy will live on through the countless lives he touched as a revered traditional ruler, a skilled lawyer, a dedicated politician, and a shrewd business leader. May his soul rest in peace.
And now let's take you to the Pola village in the Bangem subdivision of the Kupe Maninguba division, where the inhabitants have expressed their dissatisfaction as a farm-to-market road project that was supposed to be carried out from Muange to Pola was hijacked by local authorities. As a result, the inhabitants go through tough times transporting foodstuff which they harvest from the farms to the market. Some of them get bad on the way waiting for buyers. And the report which comes up next month, Jikan Gabriel takes us to Pola village, where life has become really hard.
Situated about 2 kilometers to the twin lake of Kupe Maninguba in the southwest region, Pola is a village in the Nha clan of Bangem subdivision. Recognized as a paramount village of the Nha clan, it serves as one of the custodians of the famous Maninguba Twin Lakes, which have significant cultural and traditional importance to the Bakosi people. Being part of the Bakosi mountain areas characterized by volcanic soil and a rich mountainous landscape, residents of Pola are primarily involved in agriculture, cultivating crops like cassava, cocoa, coffee and plantains. Unfortunately, the plantains which are cultivated sometimes remain along the road for several weeks until even get bad, all because the access road into Pola village is in a very poor state. Traveling along this farm to market road from Pola to Mwange remains a hectic one for the road users.
Roads, it will kill me.
The road will send us to our early graves. We have struggled to be here, but we are unable to return to our places. A lot of cash crops are here, but we are unable to transport them outside. I'm begging the government, Paul Biya in particular, to be worried about everyone and not a particular site. Send your agents everywhere because we are suffering.
Send your people that made a look outside. We suffer about this site.
People who came for the cultural festival are falling on the ground because of the poor road causing sickness. We don't have roads. Many who even dare using the road will at one time have to step down from the vehicle to go in search of stones that will be used to put on the path that the vehicle is supposed to take. And this can take several minutes. With everyone off the car still finds it difficult to move. Commercial motorcycles, which remain the only hope for the people, is also having difficulties on the road. At one point, they also get bad. The inhabitants of Pola, who were happy when they noticed that their road will soon be repaired, had their joy short-lived as they later learned that it was transferred to somewhere else where a community hall has been built instead of the road to be constructed The natives say they will not let anything go.
That road is a major aspect in the development of Pola and all the Ngia environment. So we are so bent to see that that road is possible, and that is why we will not bend to anything that is there to jeopardize the smooth running. The government has instituted that road should be constructed. We are here to whatever has been is ours. We will claim it, and we want to make sure that that road maintains the status that has been given.
Apart from being an agric hub, Pola is also a touristic site where if the road is rehabilitated, visitors will come regularly.
Like 2 kilometers from Pola to Mourning, and you see Mourning being developed, it's going to increase a lot. It's going to be meaningful to the Pola community in the sense that if Mourning is developed, there's going to be ready employment. They will need people who do one thing or the other, and we ourselves, that is our area. So we will be so happy to make sure that as Mourning is being developed, we are part of the development. Development doesn't go by itself. Development goes with the people.
At the Pola annual convention that took place in the village, natives used the occasion to ask for the roads to be constructed.
Satisfaction and fulfillment. As the President General of POCDA, I think I achieved one objective: to rally Pola sons and daughters home and abroad together around a common vision to make Pola great again.
The people of Pola are now waiting for an urgent reaction from the government about their road project that was hijacked to another locality for the construction of a community hall.
And now to the Northwest region. 2 years after the fatal shooting of the mayor for Bello, Dr. Ngong Innocent, and one other during Cameroon's National Day celebrations, the military court in Bamenda has delivered its long-awaited verdict or judgment. While 2 accused persons have been acquitted, a former deputy mayor has been sentenced to more than 25 years in prison. In the following report, Nous, détenons and Bamenda spoke with the defense, who argues that the evidence was not strong enough to prove the accused's direct involvement and hint at a possible appeal.
May 20, 2024, as Cameroon marked its National Day, gunmen opened fire in Bello in the Northwest region, killing Mayor Dr. Ngong Innocent and Dr. Aaron Ngong, an inspector of basic education, as they headed to the ceremonial grandstand. 3 suspects were arrested shortly after the attack. Nearly 2 years later, on April 15, 2026, the military court in Bamenda delivered its verdict, acquitting 2 of the accused, while sentencing Otto Tingum, a former second deputy mayor, to 25 years in prison.
They were tried for capital murder, that they murdered the mayor of Bello. But at the end of the trial, the court amended the charge, which was quite within the ambit of the law, and charged them for accessories to capital murder and accessories to cessationist activities. But after the amendment, no additional evidence was adduced, and when the 2 were discharged and acquitted, the court now convicted the first accused.
Reacting to the verdict, the defense counsel says legal options remain open.
As the law says, Section 310 of the Criminal Procedure Code, the judge has to base his judgment on facts, evidence, and the law. So if to him he said he found facts and he found evidence, that's to him. But to me, as defense counsel, I'm not very comfortable with that position of his. So as we speak, he still has up to Friday this week to file an appeal. And I'm very optimistic that he's going to file an appeal.
The ruling brings a degree of closure to the case that highlighted insecurity in the Northwest region, though questions remain over who carried out the killing.
And now we take news out of our national frontiers. Nigerian authorities have charged 6 people, including a retired Major General and a serving police inspector with terrorism in treason over an alleged plot to overthrow President Bola Tinubu. And over to Senegal, former Senegalese President Macky Sall is intensifying his campaign to become the next UN Secretary General, despite lacking support from his own government and the African Union. And the Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, has arrived in Equatorial Guinea, marking the fourth and final or last leg of his 11-day apostolic journey across Africa. Immaculate Fogwe with our foreign page roundup.
Nigerian authorities have charged 6 people, including a retired Major General and a serving police inspector, with terrorism and treason over an alleged plot to overthrow President Bola Tinubu. A 7th suspect, former Bayelsa State Governor Timpre Silva, is accused of helping to conceal the plot. In the 13-count charge sheet, authorities said suspects conspired with one another to levy war against the state to overthrow the President of the Federal Republic. The Nigerian government first said it had failed a coup attempt in January when it announced that civil military officers would stand trial. They were part of a group of 16 military officers arrested in 2025 over what military authorities described as acts of indiscipline and breaches of service regulations, which fueled rumors of a coup plot that the government initially denied. Meanwhile, former Senegalese President Macky Sall is actively intensifying his campaign to become the next Secretary General of the United Nations, despite lacking the support of his own country's current government and failing to secure official backing from the African Union. While his bid was nominated by Burundi, the nomination failed to get the necessary consensus within the African Union. Over 20 African nations, including Senegal, refused to support his candidacy. They have accused his former administration of fiscal mismanagement and repressive action against political opposition. Also, Pope Leo XIV arrived in Equatorial Guinea on Tuesday, marking the 4th and final leg of his 11-day apostolic journey across Africa. During his visit to Equatorial Guinea, he preached against the colonization of Africa's natural resources, the lust for power, and the inequalities created by a global economy focused on profit. The tour will officially end after a large public mass at Malabo Stadium, followed by a farewell ceremony at the airport before the Pope departs for Rome on Thursday, April 23rd.
And that was what we put together for you this evening on the news, viewers. For some reasons beyond our control, we won't be having talking point tonight. And our programs continue. Equinoxe will be yours at 7 p.m. And then news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. with Irish Ngonomala. I will be with you again tomorrow, same time. That is God willing. For now, bye-bye from us.